Hey folks, welcome to the Landscape YouTube channel, where our goal is to help you become better landscape contractors, designers, business people, etc. I've got a list of questions here from a Hardscape Academy attendee here, and some other questions along here too. Just commonly asked Hardscape questions. And so we're going to go through this here today at the office and talk about common questions in the Hardscape realm of things. Here we go. First question is, what do we use for design software? Well, we actually used to use a product called Unilock UVision. It was a great software for starting designers and firms, and even experienced firms or whatever. We have a designer in-house now, and we've also used him as freelance in years past. He uses CAD and also a program called Morpholio for more enhanced editing. So with that being said, I want to show you with our CAD drawings here. We're going to zoom in quick and keep our clients. But with that, we produced some really beautiful plans here, be it simple or complex. This one's printed out black and white for construction, but we're trying to, for entryways and then really complex projects here, plant names, all that kind of stuff, but CAD and all that. That being said, that's what we use for design software. By the way, Superior Lawn Care up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Another question on the design and things of how do we get like a plan view or aerial of our properties that we work on? Well, one of them is from our county auditor's website, and a lot of those, there's a kind of a standardized system for that, is to get an aerial view from Google Earth or whatever. That helps, but also you can generally get the footprint of the home on your local county auditor's website. So start digging into that, Google search ChatGPT on how to do that, and that'll get you that to help take better notes when you're shooting grade and getting your elevations. Next question is, where do you go to learn about how to use lasers, read site plans, all that kind of stuff? That is going to be in an advanced class here for Hardscape Academy. We might do an online training on that and some also digital stuff there. There's lots of great resources out there on the internet. Diesel and Iron is a YouTube channel I like a lot for heavy equipment operation techniques and soil moving and using a laser and all that kind of stuff. So there's some great stuff there on that channel, and just general Google searches and start looking there. But otherwise, we're going to start bringing that stuff in-house at the Hardscape Academy here. Next question is, how do we pre-qualify clients? How do we pre-qualify clients, and what questions do you ask? This is a long conversation. The Kid Contractor podcast will have a lot of those answers there for you. What I would encourage you to do is to open up and buy a ChatGPT account and literally ask it, and this is one way to do this too. I would encourage you to type in, what is the Leanscaper method? And that's Mark Bradley's new thing, Leanscaper, L-E-A-N, Scaper. Go to leanscaper.com, but open up ChatGPT, the AI thing, and say, what is the Leanscaper method for pre-qualifying clients, and what questions should I ask them to qualify them for my ICP, my ideal client profile? Do that, that'll get you going on the right track. Do I think it's important to know the math instead of relying on ChatGPT or all that? Yeah, I think there's some basic things you should know. Let's go over to the whiteboard for this. There are basic things you should know as basic mathematic calculations, volume calculations, length times width times depth. That's a super important conversation to know here at the Hardscape Academy. We talk about that. But you know, for your length times width times depth, to figure out how much material you're going to need on a job, that's a big deal. So for example's sake, if we have a 10 by 10 patio, you know, that's a 100 square feet, right? And so if we're going 6 inches deep of base, we'd multiply that times 0.5. That's 50 cubic feet of material, 27 cubic feet per yard. So there's 2 yards material. We multiply that by 1.5 or 2, depending on your bulk density conversions. And we know we're going to need, what I say there, 4 tons of material. So that's, you know, so knowing that basic math, and won't that be embarrassing if I did that wrong off the top of my head? But that is the basic mathematics. You really do need to know it. At a minimum, you need to know length times width gets you your area, your square footage, and then your depth. If it's 6 inches, it's 0.5, so forth and so on. And you can ask Chat to literally teach you this. It will tell you, like, how do I calculate volume for a patio? Let's say I have a 450 square foot patio, or I have a patio that's 17 feet by 34 feet, and my base needs to be 6 inches deep with 1 inch of setting bed over that area. How much of that material should I use or order or need or whatever? Like, and then you can tell it, please teach me how to calculate this. And it'll literally tell you this stuff. So ChatGPT can be used to make you super lazy and can be used to make you more informed and educated. There you go. when should we use woven fabric versus a non-woven fabric? So non-woven here is going to be this felty looking stuff. This is generally used for separation behind retaining walls, around French drains, things where water is needed more so to pass around it and through it than for underneath a patio or a driveway or a structure, something that needs strength. So that's when we're going to use a woven geotextile fabric, which looks like just what it says. That's my box of tricks back here. But a woven geotextile fabric, and it's got all these fibers in it here, those strands. That is what makes and gives it what's called tensile strength. So this is all stuff, by the way, we teach at Hardscape Academy when you have trainings. We're thinking about having a class in July, a big summer bash maybe, we'll see. The hardscapeacademy.com, go check that out. They ask here, should you always use geofabric? For no more than geofabric's cost, yes. By the way, shop is a mess right now. We've been running and gunning, folks. Our production's great. But by the way, here's a secret thing from Hardscape Academy. Be looking out for that here soon. You should always use geofabric for no more than it costs, about 8 cents a square foot or something like that. You should always use that. We have rolls and rolls and rolls of this stuff on hand any given moment in our inventory. Again, shop is a wreck, so bear with me. But we have geofabrics on hand at all times so that we can put it under and around every project all the time. Another question is, do we need to stake that geofabric in? No, just for when you're putting it down on windy days, which inevitably is going to happen. It's going to get windy. When you put this stuff out, it like draws the wind or something. Another question here, do we use sand in place of number 9 stone? No, we use number 9s, or do we use 9 in place of sand? For setting beds on pavers, yeah, we use a product called number 9 angular clean stone. And that's a limestone based material, but there are no fines in it. This is a clean stone product. There's no dust. There is some contamination from time to time, but it's a clean product. It doesn't hold water, as opposed to limestone screenings, which is like that, but it has dust. It's down to fines. There's a window down that truck just wanting to get rained on and rained in. But this is your limestone screenings, which is going to compact more so, but it's got the dusty fines in it there, right? So we don't use that for bedding. There's a million reasons on that I can't go into today, but long story short, it holds moisture. And we don't want moisture being held against our pavers. That can cause efflorescence. Crank windows, what y'all know about that? What do you know about a door that doesn't shut? But we use number 9s for our bedding layer. That's the 1-inch layer generally that holds and supports your pavers, that sits on top of the base material. Again, we talk about this at length during Hardscape Academy trainings and our online training stuff at the hardscapeacademy.com. We talk about all that, but we use it for our setting bed for pavers, leveling pad for retaining walls, but it looks something like this. It goes around and under a retaining wall application like that, and that's kind of the demonstration we use when we're building stuff here in the office when the weather's bad for our Hardscape Academy in-person trainings. The next question is, do we need edging on paver jobs even if there's adequate base extension? And the answer for that is yes, we absolutely need edging for our pavers. It has to be strong on the edge. Even if your base extends indefinitely, we have to have something. In this case, we use concrete product here. It's super strong. Now, it's totally doable in applications like this. One place to be open and honest, we're always honest, is the place that's challenging is in areas where there's turf or grass, because the concrete is not super conducive to grass growing right up to there, especially when you combine that with an open graded system. It's hot and dry now with that because the open grade stone wicks moisture away and then concrete gets hot. So that's a little challenging. You can see down in there. Got a lot of questions and answers. We got to keep moving here. So yeah, long story short, we always need edge restraint, be it a physical edge restraint or an edge restraint like a plastic edging, which doesn't work with open graded systems, or you see why this takes 2 days to get through this in a class. But we always got to have edging for our pavers regardless. Another question is, when we excavate, do we put 57 limestone or our base material in on the dirt and then compact it in? And yes, we'll generally do that when we excavate. And the reason being that compacting that base stone into the ground helps enhance and strengthen the soil. It adds to its what's called bearing capacity, and that is something we definitely want to do. So that being said, here's a good example. When we're out here, we would dig out a pad for a retaining wall extension as we come around, and we're going to beat some 57 limestone into it, and then we're going to put down our geofabric and build our 6-inch base up from there. That's how we're going to do that. And by the way, once we put that 57 in, beat it into the soil with an adequate size compactor, we're going to then put a woven geotextile fabric down and then build up from there. So once we lay our pavers, we're also going to sweep in we now use a wash-in sand, a resin-based sand joint product, but that is what we'll put in and get into our pavers so that they're strong shoulder to shoulder and rotational strength. But we use a good product for that. There's a bunch of sands out there in the market. Try them, the poly sands, and then there's also resin-based sands. We've gotten really big on using resin-based sands. That's our main game now, resin-based sands. Again, that's for the paver joint only, not what we're setting the pavers on. Now when it comes to poly sanding or sanding, doing our joint sand process, generally the thing you're going to do is you're going to lay your pavers down, you're going to run them with a compactor. We've got this fancy Bartell roller compactor. Those things are absolutely wonderful. Or if you need, oh boy, we're all over the place. You would use we have a wonderful Milwaukee battery plate compactor. That thing is awesome. But you would get a poly pad for it. You get a rubber anti-scuff pad that prevents you from scraping the paver. So here's one for our Milwaukee compactor. But this bolts onto that thing, and that anti-scuff pad keeps you from scratching the paver surface. That's a big deal. Again, folks, thehardscapeacademy.com, we have all this in 2-hour-long training videos. You can come to our in-person trainings, and we talk about this for 2 days, and we still have so much more to talk about, right? You can't get a lifetime of paver experience in 2 days. You've got to constantly be attending trainings. There's a lot of trainings out there. I encourage you to go to all of them, all right? Look at all the fine folks we've had at our trainings. Isn't that cool? Okay. So when we do that, we would lay our pavers, we'd get them cut in, we would do our joint, or we'd do our interlock compaction pass. That's with no sand on it. That beats those pavers down into the bedding material and pulls bedding material up into the joints. That is then followed by sanding. We would sweep in sand, or then we would wash in sand. If it's sweep in dry sand, we're going to compact that sand multiple times to get it rattled in. If it's wash in sand, we're done after the interlock pass. Again, true interlock is when those pavers are beat down into the bedding material. Our next question is, what is dense grade? There's open grade and dense grade material. So what we have as an example of that is not here. Oh, here it is. Dense grade material is just this. It is, and this is wet, so it's super locked in, but that's the idea. Dense grade has fines in it. It has limestone fines. Down in the south might be called crush and run, might be category 6A up north, I don't know. Down here it's called 411 limestone. 304 is just a little bit bigger, but it has everything down from this 3/4 stone down to dust, 46D, 46 minus, or I'm sorry, 3/4 minus, but it's a dense graded material. It takes a lot of effort to compact it, and it has to be the right moisture content so it locks up hard like that. Open graded stone is again like this number 57 limestone here, 57 clean, 3/4 clear, whatever, but no dust, no fines in it. And so once it's in there, it's compact. It doesn't really need much compaction at all. It's awesome. These number 9s are the same deal. They don't need any compaction. The reason we do compaction on the pavers is to get them to rattle into there and pull that material up through the joint so we achieve interlock. When we plant grass, what do we do with the straw netting? Well, first off, we use some of this tackifier shredded straw. My kids love to get back here and make a god-awful mess with it. But this stuff has a tackifying agent in it. When it gets wet, it locks in. It does okay. It's not great or perfect, but it's all right. Then we use a lot of this ECM, this straw netting. This stuff is awesome for seed establishment in a project. It does really well. You've got to pin it down with some staples, or we use these round top pins. Actually, it's these things, and again, we have our own inventory here, but we use these round top pins. We get a magnetic driver. These things are so obnoxiously overpriced, but what we do is we grab these and we stab them in, and we walk along. These are $40 for these stupid things. Look at this trash. This is terrible. And we staple and we stab that in like that. That's the idea. So that stuff works really well. There's a hole in this trash can, that's why I need to replace that. But that's how we do that. And so does the netting need removed? A lot of our residential clients end up tearing it up. The commercial jobs, it's there forever, it biodegrades eventually. But when it comes to that on the residential end, it does such a nice job of getting that seed established. It provides this nice little shady layer to help preserve moisture. It's really an awesome way to go. So with that being said, here from the Hardscape Academy, again, an Almond Landscape and Kid Contractor podcast, together in the trades, Almond Landscape, design, build, empire. I thank you, and I hope this was helpful. We got a lot more content like this coming. If you have any other questions or anything, shoot us an email, DM us, and we'll make a whole video on your questions. Thanks.